She handed me the envelope like it was a gift, smiling in that tight, excited way people do when they think they're about to change someone's life forever. "Surprise," she said lightly, almost playful. "Your son isn't yours." For a moment, the words didn't land. I looked at the envelope, then at her face, waiting for the joke to reveal itself. It didn't. She crossed her arms and leaned against the kitchen counter, confident, almost relieved, like she had finally unloaded something heavy and expected me to crumble under it. I opened the DNA test slowly. Black and white letters, percentages, conclusions that left no room for interpretation. Excluded. My hands went numb. The boy sleeping in the next room, the child I had rocked through fevers, taught to ride a bike, tucked in every night, suddenly felt like a fragile memory someone was trying to steal from me. I looked up at her, expecting tears, guilt, something human. Instead, there was impatience. She wanted a reaction. She wanted control. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said, already explaining before I asked anything. "It was years ago. You were working all the time. I didn't think it mattered." That sentence hit harder than the test. Didn't think it mattered. As if fatherhood was a technicality. As if love could be erased by a lab result. I nodded slowly, carefully. I didn't shout. I didn't accuse. I surprised even myself with how calm I felt. "Okay," I said. "I have something for you too." That finally wiped the smile off her face. I walked to the drawer where I had kept a folder she never knew existed. Inside were copies of medical records I had requested months earlier, back when I first noticed inconsistencies in her stories, small details that didn't line up if you paid attention. I placed the folder on the table and slid it toward her. "Surprise," I said quietly. "You can't have children." She laughed at first, sharp and dismissive. Then she opened the folder. I watched the color drain from her face as she read. Diagnoses, dates, procedures. A condition she had known about long before we met, long before she got pregnant, long before she let me believe a lie for years. Her mouth opened, then closed. "That's not," she started, but the words fell apart. The room felt heavy, like the air itself was pressing down on us. She sank into a chair, clutching the papers as if they might change if she read them again. "You knew?" she whispered. I shook my head. I suspected. I confirmed. The truth settled between us, ugly and undeniable. She hadn't just cheated, she had planned. She had chosen me because I was stable, because I would be a good father, because I would never question the miracle she couldn't give someone else. The DNA test wasn't about honesty. It was about power. Something had gone wrong, maybe an argument, maybe fear, and she wanted to hurt me before I could leave her. "What about him?" she asked finally, her voice breaking as she gestured toward our son's room. Our son. I didn't correct her. "He's still my son," I said without hesitation. "That hasn't changed." She looked up sharply. "Legally?" I met her eyes. "That depends on what happens next." The following weeks were a blur of lawyers, quiet conversations, and long nights staring at the ceiling. I filed for divorce, not in anger, but in certainty. Trust like that doesn't fracture, it collapses. She begged at first, then threatened, then begged again. She accused me of being heartless for wanting custody, as if biology was the only thing that made a parent. The courts didn't agree with her. I had been there since the beginning. I was on the birth certificate. I was the only father he had ever known. The hardest part wasn't the paperwork or the arguments. It was explaining things to a little boy who sensed that something was wrong, but didn't have the words for it. I told him that sometimes adults make mistakes, but love doesn't disappear because of them. He hugged me tightly and said, "You're still my dad, right?" I promised him I always would be. She moved out. The house felt quieter, lighter, sadder in a clean way. I found myself grieving not just the marriage, but the version of her I thought I knew. The woman who laughed with me in the kitchen, who held my hand at doctor appointments, who looked me in the eye and lied without flinching. The DNA test was supposed to destroy me. Instead, it stripped away the last illusion. Months later, she tried one last time to control the story, telling mutual friends her version of the truth. It didn't hold. Lies rarely do when confronted with documents, timelines, and quiet consistency. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself loudly. I focused on my son, on rebuilding something real out of the wreckage. Sometimes I think about the moment she handed me that envelope, so sure she was holding the upper hand. She thought blood was everything. She thought truth was a weapon she could choose when to use. What she didn't understand was that love, real love, isn't proven by DNA tests or destroyed by them. She wanted to surprise me with the end of my world. Instead, she handed me the beginning of a life built on honesty, even if it came at a painful cost.